May I play for tips? The timid voice of a waitress echoed across the small diner, her eyes lowered as if she regretted asking the moment the words left her lips. The man sitting in the corner, a rugged stranger with a coffee cup in his hand, laughed, not cruelly, but with the kind of disbelief that makes others turn their heads. The other customers smirked too, whispering under their breaths. But what they didn't know, what none of them expected, was that this young woman, who had been serving greasy plates and wiping down tables for years, carried a gift so powerful, it could silence every mocking word in that room. And tonight, that gift would change her life. Before I tell you what happened when she lifted the violin to her chin, let me remind you, if you believe in moments of unexpected beauty, in ordinary people revealing extraordinary strength, make sure you like this video and subscribe, because stories like this one will move your heart and remind you that miracles still happen. Her name was Emma. She had been working double shifts at the diner ever since her mother's illness drained their savings. Every night, she returned home to a dim apartment where medical bills stacked higher than groceries. She was known in town as the quiet girl who never complained, who always smiled even when her shoes had holes and her hands smelled of dish soap. But Emma had a secret, a battered old violin tucked in a case under her bed. It had belonged to her father before he walked out years ago, leaving behind only that instrument and the memory of his music. Emma hadn't played in months, maybe years, because survival left no room for art. But the longing never left her, and sometimes, when the world grew too heavy, she imagined herself playing under the lights, pouring her soul into strings. That night, the diner was busier than usual. A traveling man in a suit had stopped by, a stranger no one knew but everyone noticed. He seemed important, the way he carried himself, though his eyes were tired and lonely. He had ordered a simple coffee, but his presence commanded attention. Emma served him politely, careful not to stumble, though she felt the weight of his gaze. It was when he saw the violin-shaped pendant around her neck, a trinket she wore for courage, that he chuckled and asked, "You play?" Emma hesitated, her heart racing. "A little," she whispered. Then, almost without thinking, the words slipped out, "May I play for tips?" The man laughed, not out of cruelty but disbelief. Who would expect a waitress in a greasy apron to pull out a violin in the middle of a noisy diner? The laughter spread. Someone muttered, "This should be good." Another customer smirked, shaking his head. Emma's cheeks burned, but instead of retreating, she went to the counter, reached behind it, and pulled out the old violin case she had hidden there months ago. Her hands trembled as she opened it, revealing the faded wood. The room grew restless, half mocking, half curious. Emma lifted the violin, closed her eyes, and drew the bow across the strings. The first note rang out, soft, shaky. But then came the second, then the third. Her hand steadied, her soul taking over where fear once lived. The diner fell into silence. The clatter of plates ceased, the whispers died, and even the laughter choked into stillness. Emma played not just notes, but her story, the sleepless nights, the hunger, the longing for her father, the love for her mother. Every emotion she had buried poured out in waves of sound, filling the diner with raw, aching beauty. Strangers forgot their meals, their troubles, even their pride. Tears welled in the eyes of people who hadn't cried in years. The man in the suit leaned forward, his laughter gone, replaced by awe. When the final note lingered and faded, the silence was so deep it felt sacred. Then, one by one, people began to clap. First softly, then louder, until the small diner erupted in applause. A woman stood and placed a $20 bill on the counter, whispering, "For your music." A child tugged at her father's sleeve and begged, "Daddy, I want to play like her." Tips began to pour in, more than Emma had ever earned in a week of waiting tables. But the money, though needed, was not what made her cry. It was the way they looked at her, not as a tired waitress, but as someone who mattered, someone extraordinary. The man in the suit rose from his booth. He walked toward Emma, his step steady, his eyes shining. Do you know who I am? He asked softly. Emma shook her head. He smiled, though it carried a weight of loneliness. I'm a talent scout. I've been searching for raw, honest musicians, the kind who don't play for fame but for truth. Tonight, I found one. Emma's breath caught. She tried to speak but words failed. He placed his card in her hand. Come tomorrow. Let's see where your music can take you. That night, Emma went home and laid the violin gently on her bed. Her mother, frail but still strong in spirit, asked why her eyes were wet. Emma simply whispered, "Mom, I think everything is about to change." And it did. The next day, she walked into a recording studio, her apron replaced by courage, her music no longer silenced by fear. She played again, not for tips, but for her future. And as the world listened, hearts opened the same way they had in that diner. Friends, sometimes life laughs at us when we dare to dream. Sometimes people mock the little steps we take towards something greater. But if we carry on, if we let our truth speak louder than fear, the same laughter can turn into applause. Emma's story reminds us, you are never just what the world sees on the outside. Inside, there is a song, a gift, a strength waiting to be revealed. If this story touched your heart,